Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's get these lightning talks underway. For those who are new to lightning talks, the first rule of lightning talks is you do talk about lightning talks. The only real rule is that it is 5 minutes, no more, but it may be less. You are not required to talk for 5 minutes. You can have slides. You may not have slides. You may even, as Amber is about to demonstrate, live code, although for the love of all things holy, I don't know why you would. So yes, you have 5 minutes. As I have got a timer here, as we get closer and closer, and also Amber is also displaying the very latest in microbit fashion. As we get closer and closer to five minutes, I will move closer and closer to the stage. And then I will be on the stage. And then I will be throwing people off the stage when it hits 5 minutes. So yes, without further ado, we will start the clock now on Amber. And your time starts now.
Okay,
this is not how you start.
Now it's on. Brilliant. Okay, so something I've been working on the past couple of months is you've got Twisted, and Twisted is all good, but then you've got AsyncIO, and AsyncIO is all good. Now, what if you want to use both? Because, like, you want to use the Twisted thing because we've got a whole bunch of stuff that's only in Twisted that don't have AsyncIO implementations yet, but maybe you want to use something that's only got an AsyncIO implementation, like AOPG or something. So if you look on this side of the screen, that I can't make any bigger, I apologize. I have an example of the new in Twisted 15.5, which will be the next release, that we have an AsyncIO reactor, which is an adapter between a AsyncIO event loop and a Twisted reactor. So we install that there, and that means you can use like UV loop or any of those alternative AsyncIO event loop implementations, and it'll just work. So here we have got just some code from pretty much the AAO HTTP website where it talks about here's like some fetching. So that's all good, and then but this bit here is pretty much we want it to be twisted because we might want to fit it into a twisted application. So in the next release, the one after this one, which is currently in pre-release, we will have adapter functions that will let you take a future and put it into a deferred, and a deferred and put it into a future. And let's actually write that one right now because, you know, so basically the problem is that we can't just wait on these natively because there's a bug in AsyncIO to future. Can't deferred. So there's a bug in AsyncIO that will only let you async await things that are actually AsyncIO tasks. So we have to do this really ugly thing where we go, okay, so we got import AsyncIO, AsyncIO dot future, yeah, future, make a future. I've got to give it a loop, so let's just none. Wait, no. Oh no. I just realized that there's a problem with this. Yeah, so we've got that, and oh no, we've got to actually make that. Okay, so one of the great things is that Twisted has a reactor, and it does stuff. Now, AsyncIO decided, screw that, let's actually make the reactor part of the future. So that means that a future actually knows what event loop it's running on, because when you do a callback, it actually doesn't call that function. What it does is it tells the event loop to go call that function sometime later, which means that you end up with a bit fairer queuing, but you end up with problems that, you know, things don't happen right away, and it'll only do it when the reactor, when the event loop actually gets to it, which is like some questionable amount of time later. So we've got to give it a loop, and we've got to get AsyncIO, and we've got to make a future with the loop. And then we do AsyncIO dot, yeah, so we go, we have the deferred, add callback, that's actually got to be a F. That's a great variable name. Results, is that the API? Yes, it is. F dots. No, it's got to be a lambda. because we are failures, but AsyncI
1
doesn't
minute.
have that. Yes, thank you. So let's go f.set exception. Is that the yeah? So no, that needs to be a that. No, let's call that e. Value turn f. So now we should be able to in here. You're giving me stress. I'm typoing because of the stress.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fireworks!
Yeah, so I've got the fireworks here. So because I don't have time, just pretend that works, and that's amazing, and all of that. Also, I'll be sprinting on Twisted at the sprints if you ever want to get into it, so who's next?
Thank you very much, Amber. Let this be a cautionary tale to you all about doing live coding in Lightning Talks.
Stresses of Ross.
Stresses of me.
It's the dongle story.
We will have fun, but we will have order. All right, so next we're just getting Tim hooked up at the moment. Dance quickly amongst yourselves. Marcus, you're ready to go next one? Yep, all right. You want it up as well? Yep, okay.
Special
Here we
way of
go,
inserting.
And it's watching me. Why is the Canada arm looking at me?
Actually, I need to mirror displays.
What?
I tried to go to full screen. Hang on, I need to mirror displays. Now I've lost it. Oop, that's not what I want.
Good. Plane. Deplane. Deplane. So did anyone come
Yes.
up with a good punchline for that talk title? No? The bird, sorry? Bird is not the word. Do not even claim the bird is the word.
Mirror displays.
I actually don't know if the artist has done that.
That's good. All right. Are we good to go?
I think we probably
Are we approximating being good to go?
We are approximately good to go.
All right. Ooh, it's so pretty.
Spinning beach ball.
Whoop, whoop. And I'm here with anticipation.
Oh, look, that should be good enough.
Are we good to go?
Let me see if I press space, we go to the next slide, and if we do, we're fine.
Yeah. All right, your
Whatever.
time starts now.
Okay, so prototyping user interfaces with Django REST framework. REST framework is an easy way to create a REST API for your Django app, and then you might have front-end developers or mobile developers who will develop an app that talks to that API, and all of their functionality is going to accessing the data through that API. But wouldn't it be nice to be able to develop a way of prototyping what that mobile app might be like using the familiar Django template framework system? You know, everything we're used to in the old kind of, version of web apps where you have a template which takes a context and renders and a view and all the rest of it. So I've come up with this thing called ruhig, which is badly pronounced German for peaceful or restful. It's a class-based view mix-in to provide access to this REST API via your template context. So what it's doing is it's a single view, and it is putting into your context the API root view, and I'll show you what that means later in the context of REST framework. All the registered list views, your get query parameters, because you need that to maintain application state. It supplies these as Python objects that provide access to the nested data structures of whatever data you're getting back from the API. And it's one single view that takes your template name from the URL, which it then refers to depending on which template you've got, and you can have different aspects of your API, your interface through different templates. So using the Django REST framework tutorial, I've just added a single line to the URLs. That bottom one there, we're saying rig template name, blah, 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 views rig view as view. Here is the view you have to write. As you can see, there's not a lot of stuff going on there, and it's the one view. So this is what the tutorial looks like. It provides an API root where we can access snippets and users, and this is what a snippet looks like. This is code snippets, and I'm just showing this to provide a little bit of context. So now I'm going to show a bit of HTML. This is a Django template, which is accessing the snippets variable, which we've put in there through context. So for rn snippets.results, and then we're going to construct this link, and we've got this get parameter snippet equals r.raw URL, and we're giving it a title. All of this is coming from the API, injected via that single line view. Here's a bit of template code for a single snippet, and now, at the risk of there being a great disaster, let me just quickly show what that looks like.
Do these people never learn?
Yeah, okay. So imagine a web page with a link. You click the link, and it takes you to another web page. The implementation uses the REST framework test.api client. So obviously, this is not intended for production use. It's just a nice way of hooking in without doing all that nasty HTTP business. And we wrap the responses we get, so you're not just getting a piece of JSON back, you're getting back something that you can then use to go inside and say, well, actually, I want this, and give me another URL, and then I can take that URL and go and follow it through the API. That's a work in progress, and if, with our remaining something approximating 1 minute.
Here's 1 minute.
Let's see if we swip. Oh, here we are. So here's our code snippets. We've iterated all over all the code snippets, of which there is one. And if I click the link, we go to this funny URL. So snippet slash snippet is the template name it's pulling out, and then this is an argument which it's taking as its state, so it knows which particular snippet it's going to retrieve, and it's displayed the snippet and the language and the owner and blah, blah, blah. And for the final bit, actually, probably not going to see it, far too slow, far too small. There's a little bit of code, and it's really, there you go. So yeah, look, it's very much a work in progress, just to demonstrate there's a way of doing this and trying to make developing apps a bit easier.
9, 8, 7.
Thank you.
Yes. And under time as well, so thank you very much, Tim. Next up is Marcus, and if we can get Sam, if you were ready to... Sam, sorry. We have a multitude of Sams, so...
Test? Yeah. I'm good to go.
Now, Marcus is an old hand here, so he will know he'll be under 5 minutes. Of course he will. Wouldn't possibly be.
I think I never even managed to get 4 minutes on a lightning talk. I think I always finished earlier.
Right, all right.
Let's see.
Let's go.
So, as a follow-up for my talk from before on two-factor authentication, I remember that a while ago, that was in 2015, I read this tweet online. SSH login, so you log in by SSH to some server that generates a token which you can then use to authenticate against your Django site. Challenge accepted. So I'm not scrolling down. I think I answered like half an hour later. I think I got an idea how to do that. So I came up with Django SSH Login. This is a proof of concept. Do not use that in production. Disclaimer as before. Totally like hacked down in half an hour or so. How does it work? Essentially, I don't see my screen here. Essentially, I came up with a separate authentication backend that takes a key and then the user and figures out the rest from there. Then I have a model which, well, stores the key and creates one on safe, and no real magic there happening anyway. And there's a views.py which does the login validation, and, well, nothing fancy there either. The interesting part is the, well, generate a new key. I take a user that I get from an argument. I create a new key for that user, and then I create the URL that I want to present the user to log into. And whoa, this is big. Let's run server here. That works. Where's my SSH? Let's run SSH localhost here. I get a link, open link, and there I am. If you don't trust me, let me log out again quickly. So how does it work? How much time do I have left?
About 2 minutes.
I managed the 4 minutes. SSH has this thing, command execution, in when you log in to the server. So you can run a command if a user authenticates successfully, and then terminate the connection, which prevents the user from actually doing anything further via SSH. You have the config in here, which essentially calls Python with a manage py with a generator key for that user, disable a bunch of things just for the sake of security. If you find a way to automate this process, sure, that's all you actually need. And when you try to SSH into GitHub or some of the Git servers out there, you actually see a list of repositories you have access to, which is quite nice. 1 minute left. All right?
You're done?
Yep.
All right. See, and I didn't even need to get threatening. Next up is Sam Spencer. All right.
Yeah, I'm all trapped. Hello again. I was up here earlier, and I was. Oh, wipe that off, please. There we go. So I was here earlier.
Are you ready? Sorry, your time starts now. Go.
Okay, cool. I was here earlier talking about some of the cool stuff we were doing at the Parliamentary Library, and during Josh's talk on doing cool SQL things with Django, I thought it might be appropriate to look at a little bit more of one of the things that I was working on. And we saw our boss, who was with us earlier, talking about sales, but he's changed jobs now. And he knows we've got all sorts of stuff in our database, which he's seen here. So this is our Django and spaghetti meatballs. We've seen that, boring. So I can hover on that, and the boss is going, oh, there's so much stuff in there. Go and find this. Tell me what politicians have served in the health ministry from the eastern states. Give me the name, position, electorate, and the number of times they've been elected. I need to do counts on the database now. God, that's going to be tough. Fortunately, I've got a backup behind me, but just in case. I know all these people are persons of interest. I know that I need their name, and I know that I need their ministerial position, position label. That should bring me something. No, misspelling. Ministerial appointment. There we go. That's taking a little bit of time. it's pulling quite a lot of stuff out. So it's running behind the scenes and it's querying my database to do stuff. There we go. There's a list of every parliamentarian and all of their ministries that they've been in. That's kind of neat. And for the sake of time, I'm going to shrink it down and just say, this is what it looks like. Find me a list of ministerial appointments with a position with the label case insensitive is health. Find me a list of states. Find me a list of people, concatenate their ministerial appointments, their labels, and when they were elected, and sort it by the number of times they were elected. And it returns something that looks like this really, really quickly. Really, really quickly. So I can do that across the entire database now. Like I've done all of that really, really simply, and anybody can go along and they can query my Django database. That's really, really neat. How does it work? Good question, audience. It works. It works just like this. It's actually really, really straightforward. So the how for the query is I take a string and I split it up. And first of all, page down, I do a split on the equal sign and I get 2 more strings. Because Django's database ORM is actually really, really cool, I can get rid of the dots. The only reason the dots are there is when somebody's typing in, you can control left and right to select text, but you can't with double underscores. So let's just replace those with double underscores. Great. Okay, cool. That's a Django query. I'll make it a dictionary, and I'll quags it for a query set. Done. Okay, that's my filtering done. But I'm still going to get back a whole bunch of objects. That's going to be really, really slow. And when I'm trying to query across a whole bunch of stuff, I need to do something with it. So here is my name, the concatenation of all the ministries I've been in so that they're not multiple rows, and the electorates they've been in. And I just do that. Okay, I split it by, I've got all of my forms back from a view. I replace the dots with double underscores. And then I move concat to the end. So there's a little bit of text recognition in there to determine what is a valid aggregation and shifts it to the end. And then it just values it. So what it does is it just args this one, throws it into values, and from those 2 now I've filtered and returned just a very flat list of values from the database, and I've got now, I've got to escape out of it. I've got that. So that works, and that's a pluggable Django app. So I'll show you what that is. 1 minute. Not 1 minute? Okay, so go back in. So I've got my database, and you're like, oh, I don't care about parliamentarians. It's not really my business. What I want to do is I want to actually install it. So you go and you clone it from GitHub. You get the data interrogator, and you see all these nifty jokes about police in there. You throw any object that you don't want to be withdrawn from the database into witness protection, and it won't be withdrawn. And that's where you get it. So this is a little app that I've been working on that's much, much, much less mature than anything else. And if you want to kind of work on it, that'd be great. And you want to throw a pull request and see how it works, it's pretty cool. It's only about like 200 lines.
Great. Okay, our next speaker is David Hulton. Is that right? No, hold on, sorry, yes. Who has no slides.
I'm sorry.
No slides.
Oh.
I left too quick. No.
So what do I do? And stick in the pocket. All right, great.
All right, your time starts now.
My name's David Holder. I work for the National Computational Infrastructure, which is Australia's peak scientific computing body. If you're working for CSIRO or the Bureau of Meteorology or doing a PhD somewhere in Australia and you need access to a lot of scientific computing resources, you can apply for time on the main NCI machine and hopefully do your science. So this talk, this is my ad hoc lightning talk on the Django project that I'm working on, and that is the system that gives people access to the NCI facilities. Just to give you a bit of a scale of what I'm talking about, the main machine at NCI has, I think, 67,000 cores last time I looked, and it has a sort of 1 megawatt transformer outside the size of a railway locomotive, so it's a fairly big installation. And we have thousands of users around the country. So yes, surprise, surprise, we use Django to manage user access to all of this. And it does the job, it fits the bill. The main feature, so the system is called Mancini. The name is chosen just because it's a string that rolls off the tongue and has the substring NCI in it. And the way it differs from a lot of Django apps is that it consists of a number of loosely coupled components. Now, you know, coupling components into Django is not new. People use Django Celery, as I understand it, to sort of form work queues and things. This is a sort of a more lightweight version of Celery, and that is it just uses the database as a sort of communication layer between its different parts. Now, the main reason it has this sort of loosely coupled design is primarily security. What we really don't want is a system where the front-end web application where people are interacting with their browser has access to, say, your LDAP store and can, your LDAP service, and could potentially create users or modify any old user in LDAP. That would be disastrous if the thing got hacked. If you had a system like that where your web front end can write to LDAP and do anything it likes, once that web front end gets hacked, it's all over. Your entire namespace service is potentially corrupted. So the idea with Mancini is that all of the potentially sensitive stuff goes into the database in a kind of to-do list form. And then it's the job of external daemons, which are also written in Django, to look at those to-do lists and only do the things that don't look suspect. So for instance, with this model, there's no way that, hopefully, there's no way that a compromise of the web front end can result in someone, let's say, brute forcing a password into LDAP. Now, you could potentially compromise the front end and create a new user in LDAP, but that's not a million miles from our standard operating procedure where we're handing out sort of shell accounts to people on a daily basis from universities around the country. So yeah, that's it. Basically, we use Django in Mancini, which is our user access management system, and it has this loosely coupled design, primarily for security, but it also gives you a bit of reliability. One of the back-end agents, as I call them, that does things when a user gets created is things like creating their home directory, all of the sort of typical Unix, POSIX kind of stuff. And it'd be nice if that all worked if the file system was down. So the idea with these agents is if, let's say, the file system for /home is down, it doesn't matter. When it comes back, what will happen is that the agent that looks after creating home directories will suddenly see its file system has reappeared and can run through its to-do list to make the 10 home directories that have been approved while the file system has been offline. That's it.
Thank you very much. Next up is Sam Bishop.
And you've got a microphone, which I can't quite see because it's out of my...
Mini DisplayPort. Mini DisplayPort adapter. This goes in your pocket. Okay. Take your unit off. Oh, yep. We do have an adapter. All right, so.
Take it away, Sam.
Wonderful. So yes, Django windmills and sprints, oh my. Django has a SQL problem. And I say that quite literally because having gone through the back end of most, or at least more than half of the NoSQL adapters out there, yeah, they all start pretending that they talk SQL to Django pretty quickly because Django's kind of addicted to SQL. Not that that's a bad thing, it's very good. It gives us lovely things like this. But what if we don't want the SQL? What if maybe we want no SQL? Now, that's my windmill, but you guys out there seem to enjoy the lovely new shiny things, hence the fantastic new Contriv Postgres driver and all the other manner of things that have been creeping in as Postgres and other databases improve their features. I've seen all manner of craziness done with JSON-B, and I'm sure that there are plenty of people who would love to do more and be able to get Django to support that natively. Everything from fancy admin interfaces to all of the data in a JSON-B to who knows what else people will come up with. So what can we do about it? Now, usually what we can do about these things is give up the ORM is hard, as I'm sure a few people in the audience will agree. But there's an easier way, and it lives just above the ORM. It's the base model. Now, we've done this before with configurable user models. Now, not saying it should go the same way, but if we can configure what a model is for Django, then we can start really changing this and actually make a difference. I've discussed this with a lot of people over the last 12 months in various places, face-to-face, online, etc. Everyone says it's worth looking at, but nobody really wants to look at it by themselves because it's not a very small problem. So if you are actually curious in making this sort of a thing happen, be it for your SQL driver of choice or for NoSQL or for REST APIs on the back end of some other's web service, who knows what you can do with it. But once it's configurable, we could do whatever we please with it. And we already had the biggest step done when we formalized the meta APIs. So a lot's changed since you may have looked at it in the past. If you're curious, come and talk to me. I'll be doing some of this at the sprints.
Thank you, Sam. All right, next up is Greg Turner.
Thank you. Take your hand off. Yep, sure. Do this thing. Whoops. No. Do you know what? I think I've got it somewhere. Well, how about I just press all the buttons on my laptop and then hopefully. So I'm just going to do it this way and look up there. My name is Greg. I'm here as a representative of the Django Code of Conduct Committee, and I'm also a Code of Conduct representative for this conference over the next few days. I wanted to tell you about a thing that we've done recently. So, there's a page on the Django site about the Code of Conduct. It describes why we need one, which I'm not going to repeat here, and then how to make a report, and then what we do when we get a report. Now, this is working pretty well in practice in terms of helping to make the community bit by bit a better place and a fairer kind of representation of the world as a whole. We've still got a long way to go. One of the problems, though, that we've come up against is kind of this page. It's like laden with terms about like enforcement and like how we moderate the community in response to reports. And that's kind of confronting and scary to a lot of people in the community who are concerned about the amount of accountability we have and like how they know what's going on. And we've got the converse problem, which is that often what we're dealing with is very confidential in nature and we can't say very much about it. So the upshot is that a lot of people who object to having codes of conduct on the basis of worry about the accountability of what we as a committee decide. Well, okay, so let me do that sentence again. A lot of people object to codes of conduct because they worry about the accountability. And so we wanted to respond to that without compromising in any way the integrity of our investigations. So we decided to kind of write down what we did and be transparent about it. So we've created this space, Django, GitHub/Django/code of conduct, which is basically our operating manual. And it tells us how to make decisions based on kind of examples of situations that occur and how we dealt with them. We've open sourced it not only so that people in our community can kind of contribute and kind of pressure test it, but also because Django as a whole is leading the way in terms of how open source manages its code of conduct issues. And there's a lot of unanswered questions in the world as a whole, and we want to share our approaches to answering those questions with other people in other communities. And this is our way of doing it. So please, if you're engaged and you care about Django, the quality of Django as a community, check this out, have a read through, tease away at the edge cases, ask questions, raise issues, and let's make this a best place that we can make it. Thanks.
Next up is Jeremy Epstein. I just say a very big thank you to Greg and Katie and everyone else who's serving on the Code of Conduct Committee for an event like this. I know from experience that it can be a very draining thing to take on, and Greg in particular from being involved with the Django Code of Conduct Committee, actually, and Amber as well for that matter. It's an emotionally draining thing to be involved in. You have to deal with a lot of emails of things that you really not want to have to read about and try to work out how to judge someone else's behavior under weird circumstances, and it's not pleasant. So if you do get an opportunity, please go and thank them for the work they do, because it's part of what makes this community great, and it's for the most part thankless work because so much of it has to be done in secret for the benefit of those reporting problems. Oh, yes, Drew, yes. And we're almost there. All right. Cool. Are we good?
Yep, I think so.
All right, here we go. Here's Jeremy.
Okay, I'm Jeremy, and a few years ago I had a little problem with a web app. We're collecting, as you do, postcodes from users to work out approximately where they live in Australia. And the people we were making this web app for also wanted to know the LGA, the local government area of all their registered users. Turns out that there is actually no official authoritative mapping provided by any government or other group, any mapping of LGAs to postcodes in Australia. So I had to use my own resourcefulness to make such a list. So it's just a quick talk about what I did. So first of all, here is the list that I generated. So you can grab it off Google, formerly Google Docs, I believe now Google Drive. So just a simple list of the names of the regions and postcodes. Covers everywhere in Australia that has an LGA, which is not everywhere in Australia. And LGAs I discovered in this vary wildly. As Brisbane people may know, I'm not a Brisbane person. As Brisbane people may know, all of Brisbane city basically is one LGA, and all of Gold Coast as well. But other places like Sydney and Melbourne have numerous LGAs in the city. So to do this, I grabbed some geospatial data sets that you can get from our good friends at the Australian Bureau of Statistics. have been doing such a fabulous job over the past week. Their online catalog for geospatial datasets looks pretty just like all the rest of their web services and functions amazingly. It looks a little bit prettier than it did a few years ago when I looked at this last. Not much. So basically what I did was downloaded the shapefiles for LGAs and the shapefiles for postcodes and just opened up the blog post that I wrote about this at the time. Just used a command line tool called OGR to OGR to process the shapefiles and import them into Postgres, into PostGIS. And then just did a really simple SQL PostGIS intersects query on all the imported shapefiles, and then just exported that to a CSV. And that CSV is basically this spreadsheet that you see. So if you search for LGA postcode on Google, you'll see that come up now above the ABS data and all the rest of it, which is not that useful. People asked about this on Whirlpool quite a lot. That was where I first found people looking for this info, and I asked here as well if anyone had anything better than what I'd done, and the answer was not really. So yeah, it's just a quick shout out. If anyone else needs this data, here it is. If you'd like to regenerate it when the ABS posts new updated shapefiles, which will probably have to happen in the next year or two, particularly with the council amalgamations that are happening in New South Wales. So got all the little code snippets you'd need to update the data set. So yeah, not particularly specific to Django or even to Python, but did use this in a Python web app myself. And yep, hope you find it useful.
All right, that concludes our time for lightning talks. If you just hang around for just a moment, we do have some final closing remarks and a little special something just at the end because you've been such good people hanging around all day. So just give us quite a moment while we hook up some laptops and things. 1, 2, yes.
Could Samuel Bishop come and get his lanyard? And Greg Turner.
We're going to auction them off to the highest bidder.
Thank you.
Samuel Bishop. Lanyard off.
Yep.
You're going to attempt to...
Tempt fate and sing as well. Yep. All right. Okay. Are we good? Good to go? Yep. All right. Okay, so sadly, my friends, this concludes DjangoCon Australia 2016. Oh, that's the good response. Good. So I would like to thank all the AV people who have been running around doing amazing work all day. I'd like to thank Donna Benjamin, who very kindly stepped in to do a keynote speech this morning and did a fantastic job. Thank you very much, Donna. Thank you to all of the regular speakers who went through the call for papers process, and as having someone who's now served on the call for papers or the papers process board for the last couple of years, this year was pretty brutal in terms of getting through. So the speakers that made it It's not saying anything bad about the people who didn't make it, because the ones who made it, it was really hard to get in there this year. It was a very hard job picking the program. And of course, the lightning speakers, without whom we wouldn't have had this last little block of deeply entertaining Schadenfreude in some cases, but entertaining. Again, a very special thanks to the organisers of PyCon AU, especially Richard Jones and his team of little elves who have made DjangoCon essentially for me a job of, well, organising a shirt and organising a program. And again, thank you to the Django Software Foundation. Up until previously, I've been kind of thanking myself when I did this. But this year, I am no longer on the Django Software Foundation as a board member. So thank you very much to the board for sponsoring DjangoCon this year. If you are a company or an organisation with a financial interest in Django, again, please come and see me and I can direct you in the general direction of the fundraising page. Tim Graham in particular is our DSF fellow. The reason that we have hit deadlines for releasing 1.9, 1.10, 1.8 actually on schedule is entirely due to Tim. The fact that we have a regular stream of bugs being fixed and patches being merged is almost entirely because of Tim at the moment. And he's woefully underpaid for the amount of work that he does. So we'd like to pay him a lot more. So please pitch in. As I said, this conference at the beginning, this conference was organised as a mini conference that was tied to the side of PyCon. As a result, we don't have a budget. But we do have the shirts, so if you jump on there, you can order these shirts right now. The campaign, it's a Teespring style thing. It will be open for 1 week. This time next Thursday will be too late. You will not be able to order these shirts anymore. They are one time only. Buy them now. Organise, tell your friends. Buy all of them, all the shirts. Because all of the profits, again, go to the DSF. So there's a lot of goodwill you can throw, and you get funky shirts to go with it as well. So this is the end of DjangoCon Australia 2016. Who would like to see DjangoCon Australia 2017? There we go. All right. So who's going to volunteer? Oh, there we go. That's what I like to see. Hands. Okay. So to quote the West Wing, decisions are made by those who show up. If you want next year to be bigger, better, brighter, more, singing, dancing, whatever else, we need your help, okay? I would very much like to be able to not be the person up here. I would like to hand this off almost wholesale to someone else so that I can focus on other weird and wonderful things in my life. I've been doing this for 5 years. I've loved every minute of it, but I'm not the only person who needs to stand on this stage. So if you are interested, please come and grab me and we can talk about next year. Tomorrow, we are back for PyCon Australia. I believe we kickstart, the doors open again at 8 o'clock with a program starting at 9 o'clock. Obviously, get here early because, you know, coffee queues and things. There's also Django Girls. There is no official Django Girls event for PyCon Australia this year. We just ran out of time to organise it. But that doesn't mean there can't be Django Girls events. Django Girls is a fantastic way of getting people involved and sort of educating the broader community and broadening diversifying the base of people who use Django. I've mentored at more Django Girls than I care to count at this point, and it's a fantastic experience as a mentor, and it's just great to sort of see a big broadening of the talent that can come in and use Django at the end of the day. So if you are interested in organising Django Girls, go hit djangogirls.org and see how easy it is to set up an event. It basically comes down to find a venue, find a bunch of people, and then stand back as you get stampeded by people who want to learn how to use Django. So go and investigate. So there's no formal events planned for this evening, but you know, we're all grown adults who can entertain ourselves in various fashions, so I'm sure there'll be something happening tonight. So I'll see you tonight, and I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you later this year at other events, and Django Under the Hood and what have you. But I did say singing and dancing, so now for something completely different. Just to wrap out the afternoon. I am the very model of a modern Django model form. I handle any language, even emoji and cuneiform. My data can be accessed through an elegant and mature ORM and Rails, Pylons, PHP. They look upon me with forlorn. Some criticise the white space in my language with a lot of scorn, but when you are quite used to this, you probably think this is the norm. While building sites, you probably end up writing lots and lots of views. To service all the shopping carts and sometimes even read the news.
Service all the shopping carts and sometimes even read the news. Service all the shopping carts and sometimes even read the news. Service all the shopping carts and sometimes even read the boring news.
Your design assets will be safely stored out there in static files, the pretty years completed by the use of subcascading styles. And while I'm out there handling all that emoji and cuneiform, I'm still the very model of a modern Django model form.
Handling and cuneiform is the very model of a modern Django model form.
My models can be entered into any modern database, but really you should use Postgres like anybody with good taste. Atomic transactions can let me handle failures with good grace. I18N and LTN means I can run it any place. Auto-escaping by default helps stop with all the egg on face, and future errors are prevented with a sturdy testing base, but nothing can protect you from a DevOps who is feeling smug. Who edits in production and then introduces nasty bugs.
Who edits in production and then introduces nasty bugs. Who edits in production and then introduces nasty bugs. Edits in production and introduces nasty bugs.
And that's why your site should have a comprehensive monitoring scheme alerting to activities of hackers who are being mean. Yet still I'm out there handling all that emoji and cuneiform because I am the model of a modern Django model form.
Still he's out there handling all that emoji and cuneiform. He's still a very model of a modern Django model form.
Hopefully you can use me any way that you are wanting to, with comprehensive documents to assist when you have no clue, supported by a friendly group of worldwide Django users who gladly volunteer their time for mentoring and helping you. Whether building up migrations or figuring out a class-based view or deploying on a server on a platform that is very new, I have no doubt that with their help your lovely brand new site will soar. And if you find enough bugs, you may find yourself joining the call.
And if you find enough bugs, you may find yourself joining the call. And if you find enough bugs, you may find yourself joining the call. And if you find enough bugs, you may find yourself joining the Django core.
Some people want to dump me and are looking for the next cool thing, yet I am quite excited for the features 1.10 will bring. But still I am quite busy handling emoji and cuneiform because I am the model of a modern Django model form.
Because I am a model of a modern Django model form.
And
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That does conclude DjangoCon Australia 2016. Really, really for real this time. Don't forget to buy your shirts. Remember, the shirt will remind you of the song every time you look at it. So if you need any other reason to buy the shirt, it's just because of that. So thank you all very much, and I hope you'll see you later this afternoon, later this evening, tomorrow morning, and of course next year for 2017. Thank you all.